welcome back to another edition of Random Chaos. I am downtown Houston, Texas on this Labor Day 2022. And it's pretty quiet around here. There's not a lot of businesses open for Labor Day, and so I thought I'd come out here and get this video I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've been doing some research on it. And I'm sort of behind Minute Maid Park, and I'm over here at the San Jacinto Bridge off San Jacinto Street, and I am here to talk about an event that happened on May 5th, 1977. And it's not going to be a fun video. It's not going to be entertaining. It's not going to be happy, but it's going to be a horrible incident that happened here in 1977 on May 5th. And I'm at the building now, and the location of where this heinous crime happened. And it's just unbelievable, and it's not surprising at the same time. I am here at the Joe Campos Torres Memorial in downtown Houston off San Jacinto Street. It's at the Harris County Annex 21 building at 49 San Jacinto Street. And I'm sitting on the steps right here doing this intro. And what I want to do is take you around, show you this memorial, because I think this needs to be done. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and my heart goes out to the Torres family. And anyway, I'm going to get started here. It's a pretty muggy day out, but I'm going to do my best and try and get some good footage here today. So anyway, see you in a bit. Now here is San Jacinto Street, or whatever, where those cars are taken off the cross street of San Jacinto. And this is the Harris County Annex 21 building. Now I'm going to walk back down these stairs I was just sitting on for the intro, because there's something I want to show you. Now, like I said, this video is going to be about a man named Joe Campos Torres, who was a Mexican-American born here in Houston, USA. And they have a mural of him right here on the side of the Annex building. This was dedicated a couple years ago, I do believe. And you know, if you can see his name tag right there on his uniform, his dog tags. This is his military uniform, and I believe he was in the Army, because Joe Torres Campos, sorry if I'm saying his name backwards, Joe Campos Torres served in the military and served in the Vietnam War, and was known as a war veteran. Much respect. Thank you for your service. And he was 23 years old when he did this. Now, when he came back from the war back to America, he was out of the Army. He struggled with what is now known and recognized as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and he then struggled with alcoholism, which a lot of people do. Some people, they turn to a substance as a coping mechanism for any disorders, or especially PTSD. And I mean, you can only imagine what he's seen in Vietnam, as well as a lot of other Vietnam veterans who served in the military. And but one night on May 5th, 1977, Joe Torres was hanging out at a bar in Houston's East End called Club 21, and the police were called out on a complaint. And so they arrived, and they eventually arrested Joe Torres and on a disorderly conduct and drunk in public. Now, however, instead of just arresting him, bringing him to jail for a night, seeing a judge, and maybe receiving a fine, or maybe a few days in jail, I'm going to look back this way at the mural, because letting those bicycles pass by. Instead of bringing him to the police station like they should have, they brought him here. And I'm about to show you where here is, because what happens after that is heinous. It was a heinous crime. Should never have happened. There's nothing to justify what they did. The police did to Joe Torres. I'm gonna get up here close in a minute, because this overlook right here I'm about to go to is where everything went down. And this here is now the memorial for Joe Torres. And what happened here, this spot in 1970s was known to be by the Houston Police Department as the hole. Right along the Buffalo Bayou, right down here. And I'm gonna try and look down here. Now they brought Joe Torres, instead of to the police station, they brought him here, where two officers, Officer Denson and Officer Orlando, proceeded to beat Joe Torres severely. Now, I'm sure he was all in handcuffs when this happened too, and he was very drunk at the time, so he probably couldn't defend himself, even though he was known to be really good in karate for military training. And he even wanted to open his own karate school. That was his dream, to open his own karate school in the East End, to teach people self-defense, karate, philosophy, whatever. But instead, they beat him here in this location, probably right where I'm standing, somewhere around here. They beat him for a couple of hours at least, severely. Then they brought him to the police station, which is not far from here, looking in this direction. Should be right over on the other side of those bridges is the police station to this day. But when they brought him to the police station, the booking officer refused to book Joe because he was severely beaten, and told the two officers, to bring him to Ben Taub Hospital, and so he can get treatment and get taken care of. But no, after that, those two same police brought Joe right back to this spot, right along here, and continued to beat him severely. And what happens next is really heartbreaking, and there are some things I'm going to say that I really don't agree on some words. And because I am an open-minded person, anyway, but after another brutal beating down here somewhere, pardon me, pardon me for that cough, but one of the officers said to Joe Torres, and I quote, and this is not something I agree on, because I do not like using derogatory words or racial words, but they said, "Let's see if this wetback can swim," unquote. So they pushed his beaten body over this wall right here, the top of this wall right here, and that's a good 20 feet drop. And 3 days later, they found his drowned body floating somewhere in this vicinity. Maybe it was right here, maybe it was down the bayou some. So yeah, this is what happened right here at the Hole, as it once was called. And this area, the Hole, then was a well-known spot for HPD to hang out, do paperwork, do reports, or even take naps, when they should have been out doing other things. And I want to show you another plaque up there. It's dedicated to Joe Torres and explains a lot of stuff too. Now, the warehouse is not here anymore, obviously. There was a warehouse. This is where the police could hide out. But it's obviously gone, because I'm standing where it was, and there's nothing here anymore except for the annex building behind me. But anyway, I'll show you the plaque in a second. And And this is the dedicated plaque, for the memorial Joe Campos Torres. Another good picture, which is the same picture that's on the building over there, which right over there. And it says here, Joe Campos Torres was a native of Houston, had served his country as a Vietnam-era veteran. On May 5th, 1977, Houston police arrested 23-year-old Joe Campos Torres in the east end of Houston, a predominantly Hispanic community, for disorderly conduct. After his arrest, the police officers assaulted Joe Campos Torres during their transport to the jail, despite Joe being handcuffed. Upon arriving at the jail, Joe had been beaten so badly that the desk sergeant refused to accept him and ordered the police officer to take him to Bentop Hospital. Rather than provide medical care, the officers instead took him to the hole, where he was ultimately pushed off the platform into the bayou 15 feet below. Court records indicate the officer, while pushing him off, stated, "Let's see if this wetback can swim." Joe drowned and his body was found 3 days later on Mother's Day, of all days. And after a state trial, 2 officers received a $1 fine and a one-year probation. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice subsequently conducted its own investigation. In federal court, 3 officers involved in this were found guilty of violating Torres' civil rights and given 10-year suspended sentences. 2 of the officers were also convicted of assault and sentenced to a year and a day in prison. That is like one of the ultimate police brutality cases here. Now, another kind of disturbing, not kind of disturbing, it is disturbing thing that happened days after Joe Torres' death, murder really, was the Houston Post, which was a popular newspaper back in the 1970s here. They posted an article, and the headliners on the front page says, "Murder is not a crime if you're a police officer." Yeah. It shows what mentality people had back in the 70s and media, but also at the time, the Houston Police Department was labeled as the worst in the nation. They had some of the worst police officers back then, and I've heard other stories too, of how it was. You know, I was a kid, very young kid in the 1970s. I mean, lived a carefree life. I didn't really pay attention to news, but what I learned now in my adulthood is just something I want to talk about. And it's just one of these random videos that I make, random chaos videos. And I'm sure there was a lot of chaos back then when this was happening. And you know, what really was a slap in the face is, you know, not only were those police officers, you know, found guilty of negligent homicide and got off basically with a 1-year probation and a $1 fine. I mean, come on, that's nothing now. You know, and gladly that doesn't happen now. And but the fact that it was an all-white jury that convicted these police officers, all white people convicted them. You know, so there were no other races of people involved in the jury to decide those officers' fate, but they did find them guilty. Then subsequently, the federal investigation found a couple more officers, plus Denson and Orlando, you know, guilty of violating Joe's civil rights, and they served, you know, a year and a day. I also read somewhere online that was actually like 9 months, you know, in federal prison. You know, the stories can change, but anyway, you know, it was just a terrible incident that happened on Mother's Day. Now, no one deserves to be beaten or killed, murdered for a simple drunken, disorderly in public charge. You know, I mean, there's no justification for that. He did not deserve that kind of treatment just for being drunk and being a little bit rowdy. And, you know, from what I understand, he was kind of a rowdy drunk. A lot of his friends, which I read about doing my research, said that he was a really nice guy when he was sober, but he was kind of a rowdy drunk and would pick some fights. I mean, come on, you know, that's still no reason to beat the guy and kill him. But that's what happened back in 1970, May 5th, 1977. And, you know, and my heart goes out to his mother because, you know, they found his body on Mother's Day a few days later. And you know, my condolences to the Torres family and, you know, his friends and everything, because no one deserves that. And this is not the only incident. Buffalo Bayou, right behind me, is a known spot to see a lot of bodies. You know, a lot of people murdered, put in the bayou behind me. You know, and there's all kinds of stuff they find that goes on down here. You know, this isn't. I wouldn't come out here at nighttime. I mean, this is, you know, downtown's a little bit better nowadays, but it still has its problems. But anyway, I'm going to try and find one other thing, show you, and ultimately, either today or tomorrow, I'm going to attempt to get to the National Cemetery of Houston and find Joe Torres' plot. Yeah, I wanted to get this shot here. Right over there is where I just was, where the memorial is, and the wall that Joe Torres was pushed over on. I'm pretty sure that's the location. I mean, that's the memorial. I mean, it may have been a little further down, but this is the general location of where that heinous crime happened. And I'm right here on San Jacinto Street Bridge. And the county annex building right over here, which I'm way too close for. But yeah, man, I mean, that happened. Sadly. Well, today is a new day, and I'm here at the National Cemetery in Houston where Joe Campos Torres is buried. And after a long bus ride and a Uber ride, I finally get here. It's a pretty warm day out. Went to the front office here at the cemetery and found out, the lady there gave me a map of the cemetery. This is a huge cemetery. I mean, I think it's something, I read it right, 111,000 acres. And there's a lot of noise in the background. There's people, landscapers out here cutting grass and everything, but I'm about to head to where Joe Campos Torres is buried. Something I noticed as soon as I walked in, the American flag and the Texas state flag over there flying at half-staff, which is what the United States does for veterans. The wind wasn't blowing a while ago. I was going to take this shot a little bit ago with the flags are hanging down still. But there it is, the Texas flag over there and the American flag at half-staff. It looks like they're working on this building right here. Can't get in there right now. It's all blocked off. Construction's going on. And there's a lot of landscapers around, so hopefully I'm not getting sounds of lawnmowers and leaf blowers everywhere. But this is a beautiful cemetery out here. Way up north, I'm at North Point, near the North Beltway, I believe. I'm way out of my way right now, but it's worth it coming out here and checking this out so far. Once upon arriving in this cemetery, I thought it was going to take forever to find the burial site of Joe Campos Torres. Originally, I was over there in this area, and there was like literally hundreds of flat stones in the ground, and I was sitting there thinking I have to walk through every one of them to see where he is. But I discovered Google's maps can spot a location of a burial plot. Typing in the person's name, and Wikipedia came up, gave me the longitude and latitude, and I clicked on that and it gave me a map. You know, one of those Google maps you can walk and it follows you around. It showed me to come right over here, and it made sense to me, all these American flags in the ground, because that's the pictures I've seen online of Joe Torres' headstone, a bunch of American flags over here. And to be honest with you, I already walked down and found them. There's a little walk down this way, and as usual, I try not to step on graves, but they're so, you know, it's really hard to right here. I hope I'm doing this respectfully, no disrespect here, but he is just right up here. I'm gonna have to find it again now. I counted the flags, and there were almost 20 flags down. And I had to brush off his headstone because there was cut grass all over it. And here he is right here. Joe Campos Torres, Private U.S. Army, Vietnam, born December 20th, 1953, died May 8th, 1977, by the hands of the Houston Police Department, cold blood murder. There's a couple flags here for him. His family still comes out and visits from what I hear. And thank you for your service, Joe Campos Torres. You were taken away way too soon. I salute you. It's just sad. It's just really sad what happened. It's unnecessary and uncalled for. Rest well, my friend. I don't know if you can hear that, but they're playing anthems out of that building they're constructing over there. I was just listening to America the Beautiful. I'm gonna let a truck pass by right here. He was waiting for me. I waved him in. Wow. That surprised me. I didn't know that this happened here. I don't know if it's every hour, because it's straight up 4 o'clock just about, a little after now. So I don't know if that's on a time thing or what, but that was really nice. There's a plaque talking about what this is. Right here, Houston National Cemetery Sound System. Dedicated May 6, 2000 by Dynasty Sound. Well, here I am still at Houston National Cemetery, and found Joe Campos Torres' grave. Everything that happened to him was really uncalled for, unnecessary, inappropriate, and very unprofessional. It's tragedy. It's heinous. I can't even describe it. I mean, his family went through hell during this, I'm sure, and it was just a couple years ago, Houston Police Chief, we currently have Troy Finner, apologize to the Torres family on behalf of the Houston Police Department. He was there at the opening dedication of the memorial that I showed earlier in this video. And, you know, like I said, he made a formal apology. This is a beautiful cemetery out here. The military cemetery is way north of Houston, out of my way, but I'm glad I came out here today. You know, and it's just stuff like this that happens, especially to Joe Campos Torres, that makes it hard to trust people and trust who is around you or who approaches you in uniform or not. You know, a lot of other things could have been done to prevent this, and like I said, they should have just took him to jail, did everything properly the way it should have been done, but no, they had these two police officers, Denson and Denson Orlando, and 3 other cops, had to be stupid. I said it. But, you know, it did make some changes since then, because it opened the books again for civil rights movements, the end of police brutality, end of police racism. I mean, Joe Torres was an American citizen. He was born in Houston. So he had every right to be here. He didn't deserve to be beaten to death and have derogatory remarks made at him. His family didn't deserve this, you know. I mean, just imagine his mother woke up on Mother's Day in 1977, and that's when they found his body in Buffalo Bayou. And just imagine how she feels. I mean, I myself have a story. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it right now, but something happened, and on my ex-wife's side of the family. And but like I said, that's a long story. It affected her family too. It affected a lot of people. It affected me even. You know, but I'm gonna save that for some other time possibly. And it just hopes that make changes. And even for Joe Campos, I mean, he suffered PTSD, most likely being a Vietnam veteran. No telling what he's seen over there, what happened over there. You know, it affected him. He turned to alcohol to help smooth it out. There's a lot of people do that. But if anyone ever suffers PTSD or any, you know, mental disorders or anything, please seek help. There's mental help for PTSD, depression, suicidal thoughts. The resources are out there. All you have to do is just ask around. And, you know, things could have been different, but, you know, it happened. This is part of history, you know. And this was nationwide news, the death of Joe Campos Torres. And also, I'm not going to do this, but a year later, on Cinco de Mayo celebration in Moody Park, in another part of Houston, a riot broke out where police went in and started hassling Mexican Americans and Mexican people. You know, they were celebrating Cinco de Mayo, 1978, give or take, and resulted in a big riot. Police cars were smashed, you know, overturned, set on fire, you know, and it was all out of fear and anger of the Mexican community and the Mexican American community. You know, and this story got around, and it affected people just like the George Floyd cases and countless other victims of police brutality and violence. You know, just make a change. You know, I mean, people don't deserve to be treated that way, especially murdered or killed. You know, all you have to do is take them to jail. Check them out, take them to jail. They get fined, they do some jail time maybe, then they go. Hopefully they turn over a new leaf. But anyway, a drunken charge, disorderly conduct, doesn't deserve death penalty. Slow death penalty too, brutal. But anyway, I think I'm done with this video. I'm gonna head back out. I gotta head all the way back to downtown. I gotta find my way back there. And anyway, stay safe. You know, think straight and love one another. Until next time on Random Chaos, I'll see you again later.